All right. I've just been in such pain the last 2 weeks. I have not looked at my notes. I haven't done much of anything. So I'm a little bit rusty here, okay? All right. So I asked the question, did God have a master plan when He created the universe? Did He have something in mind? Where did that come from? Was this something He always had in mind? You know, like a guy said, yeah, I've always wanted to build a universe. Yeah? How long? Oh, I've always felt that way. Yeah. Do you think you'll ever do it? Maybe someday. I mean, no, seriously, follow me. Yeah, maybe someday. Well, is it a good plan? Oh, yeah, it's a good plan. It's a good plan. Well, why don't you do it now? Well, oh, yeah, okay, maybe I'll do it now. Did God always have this plan? See, we get this thing that God has always been everything that He is. God says He doesn't change. It doesn't say. He says He has all knowledge. Oh, yeah? Where do you get it? I mean, I don't doubt God has all knowledge. Where do you get it? Well, He always had it. Do you have a chapter and verse on that? Does God learn? You say, Ray, it's sacrilege to talk like that. I'm sorry. I think about this. I talk to God about stuff like this. I don't feel like I'm sacrilegious at all. I honor God. I worship God. Coming here to learn this stuff, this is worship. Waving your hands and falling over backwards and foaming at the mouth, that's not worship. Learning the truths of God and saying, I believe that, I can see that, this is wise, this is wisdom, this will help me be the kind of person God. That's worship. You believe and you obey God. That's worship. Okay. Now, well, you know, I've asked these questions all my life and didn't have no answer for them. But I asked the questions. Does God learn? I know He knows everything, but does He know everything because He learned it all? So, I thought, well, you know, a lot of stuff we're not going to know. But then I've also believed that there's so much more in the Bible than we've ever seen. I mean, it's in there. There's so much in there. You just have to pay attention to the words. No, I look at Scripture and I read them over 30, 50, 180 times. And sometimes something jumps out at me. I'm relentless. I'm like a bulldog. And I beg God. I say, God, I don't know. Show me. I don't know. Show me. Show me. It's in there. I know it's in there. Show me. So anyway, is there any indication in the Bible that God, before the creation, before there was a universe or even a Jesus Christ, is there any indication that God either learned something or accomplished something that didn't exist with Him prior to that? I want to say, Ray, I think you're in dangerous ground. I think you're talking heresy, and this verges on sacrilegion. I asked the question. I had a debate with a friend of mine, and I was talking about emotion. He says, Ray, God does not have emotions. I said, well, what is love? And how come God is love? And if love is an emotion, that's just for human terms. He's so way above that and beyond that and everything else. But then, over time I got to thinking about that. I said, wait a minute. In Galatians 5, we're given a list of the fruits of God's Spirit, right? And one of them in the King James is long-suffering. Okay? Long-suffering. What does that mean? Patience. What is it made up of? It's made up of an archaic English term. Long-suffering. To suffer, listen to me, to suffer long. One of the fruits of God's Spirit is to suffer long. How can it be a fruit of God's Spirit if He doesn't even possess it Himself? I told somebody I was going to ask the question at this conference, did God ever do an honest day's work in His life? I mean a really hard day's work. Did He? They say, oh, He created the universe. I mean, that was a, No, but all these Christian theology, He just spoke it and let there be stars, let there be suns and moons, let there be an earth, let there be ground, let there be land, come on. Just let it be, let it be, let it be. There you are. Wow, I'm tired. I think I'll rest today. Did God ever do an honest, hard day's work in His life? You say, right, it doesn't apply. You can't apply what we do to what He does. How can you say it doesn't apply? Jesus Christ worked and He suffered, and he was long-suffering, and He had patience, and He was the very image of His Father. The express, stamped image of His Father. And we are to be in the image of Jesus Christ, Romans 8. In the very image of God, in the very image of Jesus Christ, our elder brother. So how could Jesus have all this love and all this patience and all this mercy? And He said everything He got came from His Father. Every thought He thought, every word He spoke, every deed He done came from His Father. How can you say the Father doesn't have patience? Patience is doing without something you want. Something you want, but you can't have it now. You have to exercise patience. You might even have to have long suffering. You might have to suffer long. That's the fruit of God's Spirit. And I could never believe in my heart of hearts that God would expect of us things that He wouldn't move His little finger to do Himself. Jesus Christ berated the Pharisees. He said, you load these heavy, heavy burdens on people. Very difficult for them to do what you tell them they need to do to be holy and righteous and good. And you wouldn't move them with one of your fingers. Is He accusing the Pharisees of something His own Father is guilty of? Are you following me? Is Jesus Christ condemning and berating the Pharisees that for something His own Father is guilty of? That He lays heavy burdens on us and He wouldn't lift them with one of His fingers? But we have to. We have to suffer through 60, 80 years of sometimes horrible misery and disease and heartache and everything. What does God know about that? Nothing. I don't think so. I don't buy that nonsense anymore. I think God has gone through a lot for us. Now, I said that Ungelos translated Genesis 1:1 not in the beginning, but in wisdom. Right? In wisdom, God created the heaven and the earth. I couldn't understand that. And I look up strongly. I get all the words of wisdom and look up the word. It didn't make sense. But then I did find scriptures in the Psalms and so on that says in wisdom God created the heaven and the earth. It's not Genesis 1:1, but it's a statement. In wisdom God created the heavens and the earth. There's several of them. But is that the way Genesis 1:1 could be translated? Well, apparently so. So when you look at Strong's definition, there's one word at the end of the definition. He says first fruits, the first, the beginning. The principle. The principal thing. The principal thing. What is that? The principal thing. The principal thing. And Ungelos translates, in wisdom, God created the earth. That's the word he gets. And finally, it hit me. Someplace the Bible must tell us what the principal thing is. Huh? Proverbs 4:7. Proverbs 4:7. Wisdom is the principal thing. There it is. Wisdom is the principal thing. Now, go over to chapter 8. Chapter 8, it talks about wisdom personified. Does not wisdom cry and understanding put forth her voice? Hear, for I will speak of excellent things in the opening of my lips, and so on. I, wisdom, dwell with prudence. Verse 12. I'm in chapter 8 of Proverbs. The fear of the Lord is to hate evil, pride, and arrogance, and the evil way, and the froward mouth do I hate. Counsel is mine, and sound wisdom. I am understanding. I have strength. By me kings reign, princes decree justice. By me wisdom, princes rule, and nobles over all the judges of the earth. I, wisdom, I love them that love me, and those that seek me early and find me. Riches and honor are with me, and so on. My fruit is better than gold, verse 19. I lead in the way of righteousness in the midst of the paths of judgments. Verse 22. The Lord possessed me in the beginning of his way, before his works of old. I was set up from everlasting, from the beginning, forever, the earth, or ever, or before the earth ever was. Wisdom is speaking in the first person. I, wisdom, I was with the Lord in the beginning, before there ever was any works. I was set up ere the earth was, before there was an earth. Now, here's where I got this, and you'll never get into King James. When there were no depths, I was brought forth. When there were no fountains abounding with waters, before the mountains were settled, before the hills was, I brought forth. While as yet he had not made the earth, nor the fields, nor the highest parts of the dust of the world. When he prepared the heavens, I was there. When he set a compass upon the face of the earth, when he established the clouds, and so on and so forth. Who was there with God? Wisdom. Before anything was made, who was there with God? Wisdom. Where did it come from? Took a little digging to get this out. It says, when there was no depths, I was brought forth. Okay? Now, before I get into that, understand that terms that apply to us are applied to God. The Bible talks about men of power. Does God have power? Is the power that God possesses greater or lesser than the power that men possess? Much greater, considerably greater, infinitesimally more greater. Does God have mercy? Yes. Does he have more mercy than men? Amen. Okay. Does God have love? Amen. Same love we have, right? Same amount. You cannot compare the love that God has with the love that we have. So yes, we have love and we kind of know what it means. But it cannot be compared with the love that God has. Now, therefore, whatever words are applied to us, when they're applied to Him, it's infinitesimally more greater and more profound. Agreed? Okay. The word there brought forth in chapter 8 is kol. Kol, kul, keel. A primitive root, properly, it can mean, in some contexts, it can mean to twist or to dance, but this is only one application of it. But it means to writhe in pain. Okay? Not just to hurt, to, like I felt for 2 weeks, writhing in pain, just can't even think straight. Writhing in pain. What?
What verse?
I'm not in a verse, I'm giving you a definition of a Hebrew word. But we're in chapter 8, verse 24. It means to bear, to bring forth, to calve, to be with pain, great, grieve, grievous, sore, pain, sorrow, travail. Oh, no. Those are powerful words, aren't they? If you went through all that, you'd think you were in childbirth. In childbirth. Guess what this word means here? I was brought forth. Travailed. Birthed. Huh? Can this mean what it says? Before God could create us in the universe and creatures in His own likeness, He had to know how to do it. How hard was that? Oh, it's nothing too hard for God. There's nothing too hard for God. Too hard, that means impossible. But how close to that does it come? Are things very, very hard for God at times? Did God ever do an honest day's work? Did God ever suffer? Was God ever long-suffering? Did He have to have patience? He could not build this universe until He possessed the wisdom to do it. Before the creation came the master plan and the wisdom to do it. How did He get that wisdom? He birthed it under the pain and travail and agony that He passed on to women to experience a minute, little, insignificant part of what it's like to bring about children that are going to be in the image of God. He travailed with pain and agony till wisdom was birthed out of Him so that He could now build the universe. It says so. I mean, you can say, well, I don't see it. I don't care. This wisdom was with Him before the heavens and the earth. It was with Him. But where did it come from? He birthed it with great pain, travail, and sorrow. It was difficult for God. So don't think God hasn't done anything for us. God has never suffered. God has never had to work hard. God has never had to go long periods of time and not get what it is that He wanted. Don't think that way anymore. You have a Father in heaven that can identify with everything you are. Okay, go ahead with that.